guys, today I'm going to share with you 5 low-carb desserts that are just so quick to make. You'll love them. Great for the holiday season or your regular Tuesday. Yes, I like to have my dessert whenever I want, and these recipes are great for that because they're super quick to make. So let's just jump right into it. We're going to start with this Keto chocolate coconut mug cake. Yes, so many words, but so delicious and so quick to make. Literally takes around up to 3 minutes. Up to 3 minutes to make. It's so cool. So, to begin with, I'll start by taking this glass bowl. As you can see, I'm really trying to focus here, but the camera is not listening to me, so let's just move on. So, the first thing we need to do is to take an egg and basically break it. Then whip it. Whipping the egg in a separate bowl is quite important because you can't really do it in the mug itself. Here's another angle of me whipping the egg. You're welcome. So the next step is to really choose the mug you want. I chose the mug that's a little bit too much, a little too big for this portion, but just play with it, see what works better. Then I'll take 1 tablespoon of butter. Butter. Who doesn't like butter? It's actually salted butter, so yeah, you can use unsalted one too, but I prefer salted one. So basically what we're gonna do with this butter is put it into microwave and melt it. Afterwards, you'll have to add 1 tablespoon of sour cream to it and just mix it up a little bit. Afterwards, we're going to add the whipped egg we have, and we're just going to mix it up. But don't forget to add the vanilla. It's just a splash of it and it makes it so delicious. I like vanilla, and vanilla works great in many desserts. Now it's the fun part. We need to mix all the dry ingredients. So I'm going to start with 4 tablespoons of almond flour. Yo. Almond flour is just great. It's just great if you're on keto or low carb diet. So buy a bunch of it. Trust me, you'll need it. Then we add 2 tablespoons of erythritol, which is another sweetener that you probably haven't heard of. If you heard of it, great, buy it. It's the healthiest sweetener out there right now. And add 1 tablespoon of cocoa powder. It has to be unsweetened. So as you can see, I just changed the angle. I'm going to add half a teaspoon of baking powder and 1 teaspoon of unsweetened coconut chips, which will give a little bit of crunchiness to some of the bites you're gonna have later on, which is nice. So now you have your liquid parts, the dry parts, just mix them up together and mix them as well as you can because you want it to work. So as you can see, batter is on the thicker side. What I'm gonna do is go to my microwave, put it on maximum wattage. It's probably around 700. The bigger the better. And I'm gonna set the timer on. I cooked it for around 60 to 90 seconds. I think it was 75 seconds for me, but it might take longer for you, or shorter, really. So as you can see, the final result is this sweet, beautiful mug cake that doesn't look like much, but it's really delicious. I'll add 1 teaspoon of chocolate chips, just because. Make sure they're unsweetened, and they will actually melt a little, and it will just improve the texture altogether, and it will just be more delicious. So do it. Yeah, so this mug cake is great with a tea, with a coffee. It's just delicious. Great if you want something really quickly. It might not look like much, but it's so delicious and so full of fats. So you really eat this one and you feel so full for so long. Okay, next recipe. These keto chocolate pecan cookies are just 1.8 grams of net carbs each. They're so delicious, crunchy, and great with a cup of tea. The recipe will require a half a cup of chopped pecans. And if you're like me, I don't have any chopped pecans at home. So what I'm doing right now, I'm just gonna actually cut them and chop them a little bit. That's a very simple procedure. You just do that, and here you go, you have your chopped pecans. So don't worry if you cannot find chopped pecans in the shop. Obviously, if you're going to chop pecans, probably it's gonna get messy, so make sure you clean up afterwards. Another thing you will need is a cup of powdered erythritol. If you don't have powdered form of this sweetener, you can just use coffee grinder to do that. Unfortunately, my coffee grinder broke, so I had to buy powdered form of it. So simply add erythritol to the bowl with pecans and add cocoa powder too. I'm gonna use 6 tablespoons of unsweetened cocoa powder, so make sure it is truly unsweetened. To finish up, we're going to use half a cup of unsweetened chocolate chips. They're gonna make these cookies just so much better. Add a little bit of salt. It's 1/4 of a teaspoon that I'm using right here. Then take your egg, get 2 bowls, beautiful or not, but you'll need to separate egg whites from egg yolks. So I started with 4 medium-sized eggs. That was a mistake, but I'll tell you later. So I beautifully separated egg yolks from egg whites. Obviously, if you get any shells into the bowl, just take it out. You don't want any of that stuff in your egg whites. So now I just added egg whites to the dry ingredients and added 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, because vanilla is just the best, as I already told you. So what you want to do right now is just mix, 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 mix. As I was mixing, I realized that I didn't add enough egg whites. That's mostly because I was using medium eggs instead of large ones. So what I did, I added 2 extra egg whites. When it comes to using egg whites, don't worry too much. You won't really mess up the whole recipe. Just try to use as many as you need to sort of get the texture that I'm going to show you in the video. As you can see, the batter is quite thick, but it's alright. Don't make it too liquidy because you won't be able to form the cookies very well. So what I'm gonna do just now is pop it into a fridge for 30 to 60 minutes and just wait. Afterwards, get your baking form out. I was using foil. Baking paper is much better in this case, but I was using foil because I didn't have anything else at home, to be honest. And then what I just started doing is forming these sort of cookies. What I really did, just scooped out some of the batter and placed it on the tray. You don't have to flatten the batter now because, trust me, once it cooks, it will just go down, flatten up itself, and you'll get the beautifully beautiful cookies you've ever dreamed of. Kind of. So now I'm just going to pop this baking tray into the oven at 180 degrees Celsius or 350 Fahrenheit for those in the United States. Yeah, we're gonna bake it for 12 minutes. Once you finish baking, make sure to leave the cookies to cool down just to make sure they don't break apart because they are fragile when they are still warm. Let them cool down, take them off, and you'll have beautifully nice, crunchy, chocolatey, sweet cookies that just are amazing with a cup of coffee or a cup of tea. And another recipe is blueberry keto mug cake. If you're really tired of chocolate, this is a great low-carb dessert to try. So easy to make, 60 seconds to really just bake it. It's amazing. We'll basically start with whipping 1 egg and adding 2 tablespoons of double cream. It can also be sour cream, so don't worry about that. The next thing I'm going to do is get 1 lemon. Since I want to get fresh lemon juice, we're gonna cut that lemon and basically squeeze out the lemon juice into the bowl. And then mix, 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 mix. Also, not to forget, add 1/4 of a teaspoon of vanilla extract just to make it extra sweet. So once the wet ingredients are mixed, we're gonna get a mug. Take whatever mug you like, tall or small, just improvise. So the recipe requires 2 tablespoons of coconut flour. This time I'm using coconut flour. You could use almond flour, but coconut flour tends to work better with this recipe, at least in my opinion. Then I'm basically adding 2 tablespoons of granulated erythritol and some baking powder just to make sure that it bakes very well in the microwave. Also, don't forget to mix in a pinch of salt, and then you just mix the wet and dry ingredients in the mug. Do it as well as you can so that the baking powder is spread throughout the batter. That will ensure that our mug cake will just be lovely and it will actually work out. Finally, we're going to add blueberries. I'm adding 10 to 12 blueberries. I think that's enough, but if you want more blueberries, do it. The batter is going to be quite thick, so don't be scared of that. Just make sure you level it in the mug. And then what I'm gonna do is just pop it into the microwave at maximum voltage for 60 seconds. Voila! So this mug cake is really delicious with a bit of whipped cream, in my opinion, because it can get dry afterwards, but it's not super dry. It is a little bit crumbly sometimes, so it really depends on how thick your batter was beforehand. Either way, the taste is slightly different, it's not as chocolatey, and it's kind of a nice change, especially if you eat my cakes for breakfast or just want a little treat now and then. One mug of this cake contains around 13 grams of net carbs, which is pretty good, knowing how many calories this one has, and it has loads of fat and protein, so totally worth trying making it. The fourth recipe is low carb microwave peanut butter cake with whipped cream. Yes, so many words, but this recipe is just amazing. It's actually much better. It turned out much better than I expected, so I was really happy to show you this one. So believe it or not, this cake only takes 10 minutes to make because we're going to use microwave. It's pretty cool, so it's one of those quick treats you can make while traveling, or if you just need something super quick because guests are coming any minute now. Yeah, that's the cake you can make. We're going to start with 2 cups of almond flour and add 1/4 of a cup of erythritol, as well as 1/4 of a cup of stevia sweetener. Stevia sweetener is quite good. It tastes delicious, so I highly recommend using it with erythritol. It's just a nice combination. Then we pop in baking powder. It's 2 teaspoons to be exact. Make sure you mix the dry ingredients quite well so that baking powder is all over the batter later on. So as you can see, I'm really putting some effort into mixing it, so do the same thing, don't be lazy about it. So the next step is to get our salted butter out. Yes, salted, because salt sort of helps the taste of the cake. So definitely do that. We're going to use 100 grams of salted butter, that's 3.5 ounces of salted butter. Then we're going to add peanut butter, exactly the same amount of it, and we're going to melt those butters. You're gonna use the microwave to do that. I'm going to add dry ingredients to butters and I'm going to mix them as well as I can, so do so too. The batter will be crumbly. To fix that, we're going to add 4 eggs to it. Yes, the eggs will bind the batter and it will become more liquidy, and yeah, that's where you will start seeing the batter really come together. Although it's still going to be too thick, so we're going to add 1/2 cup of water just to make it a little bit more liquidy so that the cake rises when it's in microwave. So finally, you're going to want to get your baking form out. It needs to be oiled and cannot be metal because we're going to put it into a microwave, of course. My form is 9 by 7 inches, so make sure it fits into your microwave. That's my main advice, really. I'm going to pour the batter into the form, put it into microwave at the maximum wattage, and bake for 7 straight minutes. Based on your baking form size, microwave, wattage, it might bake for a little longer or for a little less, so what I recommend is to microwave it for 5 minutes and then start using your toothpicks to see whether it's cooked or not. If it's not, you just continue baking it in the microwave until it's all good. So finally, once it's done, I'm just going to cut it into 9 equal squares, hopefully. Well, not really the rectangulars, but you know, one can hope. And I'm just going to top it with a little bit of whipped cream just because it's just more tasty and the cake can get a little dry afterwards. So whipped cream really helps, and it's full of fat, so it's not so bad if you're on a low carb diet. Ta-da! Enjoy the recipe. And by the way, one piece of this cake has around 11 grams of net carbs, so it's not really bad, isn't it? Oh, and the final recipe I want to share with you is Ketogenic chocolate chip cookies. They're so chewy, so amazing, so good with a cup of coffee or tea, and they're just addictive, to be honest. So your kids will love them too if you have any. So once again, we're gonna get a good sized bowl and almond flour. I'm using 1 cup of almond flour and adding 2 tablespoons of erythritol. Then I'm mixing in 3 tablespoons of sugar-free chocolate chips. Make sure they are sugar-free, okay? And I'm adding a little bit of salt. Also, just make sure to add baking soda, just 1/8 of a teaspoon, to make sure that these cookies bake well. And mix all the dry ingredients as well as you can, but just don't overdo it. We still want our chocolate chips to stay intact. So the next thing I'm going to do is get my butter out. It's 2 tablespoons of butter. Could be salted or unsalted, depends on you. But if you're adding salt, probably the butter shouldn't be salted. But if you're not adding any salt, use salted butter. Still, we need a little bit of salt, okay? Once again, we're going to use the microwave to melt the butter and add a little bit of vanilla extract. It's 1 teaspoon to be exact. Also, we're going to add 3 teaspoons of almond milk. So we're going to use almond milk quite often if we're on low carb diet because the regular milk has more sugar than almond milk. So if you are on low carb diet or even keto diet, buy almond milk instead of regular milk. Highly advised. Now make sure you mix all the wet ingredients together and then add the dry ingredients to them. Now mix once again and you'll get this sort of dough batter. I don't even know, but it has to be quite thick because we're gonna want to form dough balls. So all I'm doing is taking the dough and forming a bunch of balls, which we're going to put on a tray. I'm using tray with foil. Use baking paper if you can, but I didn't have any, so that's what I'm using. And basically we're just going to put all the balls on the baking tray, and then we're just going to squeeze each ball to sort of flatten it down and form cookies. It's pretty easy really, and I made a total of 14 cookies if you want to know. So the final step is just to pop these cookies into the oven for 10 minutes at 340 Fahrenheit or 170 Celsius degrees. Make sure once you take them out they cool down before you serve them because they might fall apart otherwise, but otherwise they're so chewy, so beautiful, so tasty, not too hard, a little crunchy but not too crunchy. OMG, they're just my favorite. And each cookie is just 2 grams of net carbs, which is even better. So thank you for watching this video, guys. If you want any of the recipes, I have all the links in the description. You'll have to go to my website, allnutritious.com, to see them. Yes, I hope you liked the video. If you did, please subscribe, please like it, or even comment if you had any questions. I'd greatly appreciate it. Other than that, have a good day and bye-bye.